Hi everyone, Dan Murphy from CNBC. Thanks for being with us this morning, and so good morning to you. I'm very pleased to be sitting next to Hussain Sajwani today. He's certainly a man who has played a most significant role in the growth and development of the UAE. He is, of course, a self-made billionaire. He's a friend of President Trump, and he's also been recognized as one of the most powerful Arabs, among other accolades. He's grown DAMAC Properties, which is part of his DICO Group, into one of the largest property development companies in the Middle East. It is a resilient business that has seen a number of property cycles. Looking at the market today, Dubai's real estate market, which is a key component of its economy, has been slowing for several years. Housing oversupply has driven prices down at least a quarter since 2014. In October, Mr. Sajwani spoke out to the press in a television interview, and he called for a complete halt to all new home construction for up to 2 years to reduce the glut of supply in Dubai. You said, I quote, "Either we fix this problem or we're going to see disaster." So, Mr. Sajwani, I'd like to start on that. Do you stand by those comments that you made in October regarding the state of the market in Dubai?
Oh, definitely, yes. Nothing has changed since.
Why?
Well, it's a short time. I appreciate that. It's been more, 6, 7 weeks. Of course, the glut of supply we have, or we're going to have, it will have impact on the market. As I said, if we stop today, we are okay. The demand is there. I think there is a demand for at least 15 to 25,000 units a year. But if we oversupply more than that, then we have a problem. I think we have oversupplied in 2019. So, we need to slow down, make it either zero or halt at a very small number. And as I said, 12 months, 24 months is a maximum. And we could be surprised to see if we stop demand, maybe for 7, 8 months, prices will stabilize, market have more confidence, and move forward.
So the sense that I get is that you really have blown the whistle on this, because it seems like this has been an issue that's been unfolding, at least in the Dubai market, for a number of years now, but few people have the confidence to come out and speak about it publicly. So what do you think actually led to this oversupply issue? What is the root cause of this?
As you appreciate, in the property market, it's the supply-demand, and it's the cyclicality of the market, and it is the, you can call it the greediness of the developers, is the business people. They see the market is good, they want to supply more, they want to make more money, and you reach a time in the curve where you need to slow down. Now, typically in the normal competitive markets, like US, UK, somewhere else, the demand, supply, and all the companies are private, it will balance each other. UAE is a bit different because there are some majority of the supply or demand or the development comes from a large government or public companies, and that has to be monitored by the government more carefully, I think.
And I know this crunch in the housing market and the glut in supply has also been significantly impacting your operations. What would you say is at stake if this issue is not addressed for you and for other businesses operating in the Dubai market?
See, today, DAMAC, we are in a very strong position. We have more than 5 billion dirham cash in the company. We have paid just more than 1 billion dirham debt or bonds in last April. We can pay our bond 18 months earlier, maybe 2 years earlier than its due date, which is due date in 2022, and the next bond is 23. We're going to probably touch more than 7,000 units delivering this year. We have another 8,000 next year and 8,000 the year after. From this, about total 15,000 units that we're going to deliver from today in 24 months. A lot of cash comes in because those delivery, when you deliver, you close the escrow, you get. So financially, we're very strong position. Cash flow is very strong position. Balance sheet is strong. And now we're looking how to expand globally.
You've also made a decision just recently to stop paying out dividends, at least in the short term. You've also made some decisions to try and conserve some cash in this environment. So the business has been impacted by this. What about more broadly across the UAE economy? Are you concerned about how this issue within the housing market could potentially be impacting domestic banks as well? Is this a concern?
I don't think it will affect domestic banks. The banks are in a very strong position. We have a very strong central bank. We have a very strong currency. And I think the banks have learned their lessons from the previous crisis of '08, and they have kept enough provisions. And, I think their strategy of lending has been very conservative and very right.
What about the incentives that are being provided? Are they too generous? Is that encouraging speculation in the market?
Incentives are good. It's a competitive market. You want to sell, you want to give incentives, you give better prices for the customer. Those are all I'm in favor of. I am a little bit against the long-term payment plan with very little cash upfront. I don't mind the payment plan. It's in the interest of the customer. But this 5–10% upfront, it is encouraging a lot of speculators, and those speculators not going to be able to pay further, and they're all hoping that the market will recover soon. And if it doesn't recover, they're going to be in a mess, and they're going to put the market themselves and the market and the developer and the economy in a problem.
At the same time, I know we've discussed this issue before, but the demand fundamentals in the UAE and in Dubai look quite good. It's a buyer's market at the moment, but the country is also very strong. Explain to me why you think demand is going to tick up perhaps in 2020 and 2021, and what are the fundamentals that you're viewing that give you the optimism to say, if we do perhaps put that supply stop in place, everything's going to be okay into the future?
I mean, you're talking here one of the most stable, strongest economy in the Middle East. Rather, on a global level, probably we're among, 10, 20 countries. More than, 100 years of oil under the ground, more than $1 trillion reserve or investments of Abu Dhabi overseas, currency pegged to the dollar, very low taxes, freedom of money coming in and out, freedom of people coming in and out, infrastructure, one of the best in the world, connectivity between Etihad and Emirates Airlines is one of the best in the world. So really, you're looking at UAE, look at we are the first one to have a minister for artificial intelligence. Very, very, visionary leadership, working day and night for their country, reasonably, education is very good, level of, so we're ticking all the boxes. We're ticking all the boxes. And we're surrounded by about 100 countries where people will love to come to Dubai, from CIS, from Middle East, from China, from India. They come for holiday, they come to work, they come to educate, and. So there is no worry on the country's fundamentals, And with the Expo coming in, I think Dubai and UAE will benefit tremendously from the Expo. And we're going to see a big raise in the tourism, and that will continue because I think Dubai is a jewel which is hidden. I won't say hidden, but a lot of people don't know about Dubai. Give you an example. A lot of people don't know about UAE. I mean, you go to Saadiyat and see the beaches and see the resorts and the hotels. There are 1.2 billion Chinese. 200–300 million of them would love to come to Dubai or to UAE, but they don't know the country very well. With Expo, they will come and they see it, and they're going to talk to their friends and their relatives and so on. So,
I wanted to ask you more broadly about your business journey as well, but just one final question on the state of the market today. You mentioned the vision of the government, and I think this is quite important because the government has been monitoring this situation, and back in September, a planning commission was announced to deal with some of these issues within the market. What specifically do you think the government will put in place? What measures will the government put in place to assist property developers and encourage the property market into the future?
I mean, you always judge people, governments on their history, what they have done historically. Look at UAE government and what they have done historically. They've been very responsive, they've been very, very active, and they study the issues and the problems, and they take action. I mean, look at the crisis of '08, how the UAE government, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Central Bank, the creation of RERA, how this government has moved and tackled that problem. And literally, between '09 and '11, the whole situation has improved and changed. Where other countries would have lived 6, 7 years in such a crisis, we get out of it in 2 to 3 years. So I have a lot of confidence our government is intelligent. More importantly, is on the spot. They're thinking, they're talking, they're meeting investors, they're meeting businessmen, and they're taking action. When you have the will, you will get it done.
And this is something that you have observed over a long period of time now in your career as a business builder. So take me back in time a little bit and help me understand a bit more about your history, because I know it was in the mid-90s that you started building hotels. And then in the early 2000s, you saw an opportunity to start DAMAC. As you look towards the future, what are some of the trends that you're seeing that are going to be impacting your business and impacting the country as we move into 2020 and beyond?
I'm very grateful to this city, Abu Dhabi. That's where I started in '82, working for a company, which is still, of course, one of the major companies in Abu Dhabi, called Abu Dhabi Gas Industries. And I started as a trainee and then spent 2.5 beautiful years there and built my business from there and where we are today. Going forward, the challenges are big for any businessman. I give you an example. I think one of the mega challenges where we face today is the social media. 10 years ago, example, if you had a restaurant and you served one bad meal, so what? Nobody knew. Today, if you're bad luck and that customer have 1 million followers on the social media and he talk negative about you, you're dead. Your company got out of the business. So don't underestimate the impact of the social media. And every CEO has to worry about that. Wake up every morning thinking, what if one item went wrong and how other people or your competitor are going to use that against you in the social media. The world that we're living in of technology and internet is changing the world from every aspect. One main aspect, no matter how much your company has been changed by technology, is the flow of the information. I'll give you an example. 10 years ago, when rent will go down, when the supply in the market will be 5% more, rent will go down by 5-7%. Today, if the supply is 5%, rent can go down by 30% because of the efficiency of the market. Give you an example. A few years ago, I think in 2015, oil prices came from $100 to $27. How much oil glut we had? To my memory, we had 3 or 4 million barrels of oil only extra in the market. So we have 4% extra supply, make the price go down by 60%. Just think of it. That's because it's stock market of the oil. Same thing happening now in every aspect. So the full of the information in the world of the internet is really making a major impact on the businesses. And any businessman has to take that into consideration.
Absolutely. So I know a lot of people that I speak to might have perhaps thought that their eyes have been closed to this idea of social media and how it impacts business. But at the end of the day, ultimately, the consumer is so much more empowered now to make decisions, aren't they? And more those decisions come through on social media. Would you say that in your business, at least on the DAMAC side, one of your businesses, that technology is an enabler or a disruptor?
Technology impacted us from the sales, marketing, data, CRM, so the front end of the business. I have not seen yet the impact of technology in the construction, on the bricks and mortars, on the concrete. We're still taking too long to build those buildings. I mean, it still takes between 3 to 5 years sometime to build a tower. And I'm one of the people frustrated with that, because when I go to any consultant and say, can you design a tower for me, or a building, or a villa? They say, well, we need 6 to 9 months. And I think, hopefully one day we find a solution for that.
I understand that to date, DAMAC Properties has delivered about 30,000 homes. What trends are you seeing in the global real estate industry then? If we look beyond Dubai, if we look beyond Abu Dhabi, how are you reading the global real estate market at the moment? And what are the fundamentals that are going to determine the status of that market moving into the years to come?
See, every city, every country has its own circumstances, conditions, economic situation. But property market is cyclical. I think property as a buildings, if it's an office or residential or warehousing, going to remain, I think, very solid and not going to get impacted by the technological. So nobody can take you out of business, like Amazon or somebody like that, if you build good quality products. So the product is there. I don't see technology going to be able to make for you. Now, you live in an office, a concept can we work, you work, I work, does not matter. It's still you need a building. Does not matter how you shape the building inside. You need to live in an apartment. Big, small, sharing, not sharing, you need an apartment. So from that point of view, we are safe. The changes are happening as I said, in the front end, and different cities are coping with that in different ways.
Going back to a bit about your history, I know your first business wasn't exactly in real estate as well, because in 1982 you started a catering business that basically put you on the trajectory that you're on today. Take me back to that catering business, and what did the catering business teach you about working in the real estate market?
As I said, I am very thankful to Abu Dhabi, where I have started my business in Abu Dhabi. I started doing the catering for oil and gas companies. I tell you, it's a very exciting business, but it's a very, very tough business because it's tender bidding, so your margins are low and you're based on prices very much, and especially when you're dealing with government and public companies, they can't give you the tender and you are number 4 or 5. So they want quality and they want the lowest price, which is a very challenge. Then you're dealing with a lot of manpower, laborers, lower end of the, that labor, cooks and helpers is challenging, the HR side of it. Then you're dealing with food, which is an item very, sensitive to be handled, and you're dealing with them with in the desert, 2 hours from the city, the transportation, the storage, the serving, and of course, you're dealing with oil and gas companies. I remember one of the oil and gas companies told me when I was putting a bid for him, and he awarded me the bid, it was an American gentleman, the general manager. He said, if you have a problem and we get a food poisoning on the side, what is the impact on your country? That oil field can shut down for a few days, and the loss of income and this can be fiasco. And I realized how sensitive the responsibility you have when you're handling the catering for oil and gas or for a hospital. It's a very tough business, and I really learned from that how to manage and I think one of my key success today, if you ask me, I say number 1 is the training of my father. He trained me very well and very harsh and very, tough, but also the catering business trained me how to manage a very tough business.
You've also just recently been working to diversify DICO as well. There was a really exciting acquisition that took place only a few weeks ago with the purchase of Roberto Cavalli, the luxury fashion brand. Explain to me why you decided to make that acquisition and how significant is that in your overall journey into diversification?
I've been, alhamdulillah, for God's help and all my friends and the government and my employees, I've been successful in the Middle East. And when this opportunity came for Roberto Cavalli, it's a fashion industry, it's something very different. It's in a highly, highly competitive markets. I mean, your competitor is LVMH. The owner is today 2nd, 3rd richest man in the world. This is your competitor. But for me, it was, at this age, I want to take this challenge. I want to see if I can succeed in Milan competing with Gucci. Then I will have the confidence in myself that I am successful. Today, yes, you may rate me successful. I am never happy with my success. I always say, what is the next? Okay, I can build another building, so what? I can do another DAMAC Hills, so what? But if I can compete in Gucci in their hometown, then I'll be a little bit more happy.
I like that. That's guts. So explain this to me a little bit more. Would you like to make further acquisitions in the luxury space? I know you said you're competing with LVMH, but what's next?
LVMH, why not? You aim big.
Seriously though, would you like to buy LVMH?
Oh, no. I would love
I
to
assume
buy
it's
it.
quite expensive.
If you write me the check, if you write me a check, I would love to buy it. No, we're at early stage. I want to really go berserk and acquire another chain very quickly. But if, with God's help, I become successful, definitely the objective is not to just buy one brand and continue, because today the world is moving into the scale. And if you're really not big, you don't survive. So you can survive by owning one brand.
So as you know, retail is a really tough business, enabled by technology, facing significant disruption. At the same time, bricks and mortar stores are kind of going out of fashion, if you will, to use the term. What is the strategy here? How are you going to grow that brand and grow that business?
I mean, I'm very new. We took a decision in April this year. It took the Italians 7-8 months or 6 months to make the acquisition. We just finalized everything 2 weeks ago. So I'm flying tonight to Milan to see. But in the last 6 months, I spent some time looking at this market, looking at this field. And there is opportunities because the social media is changing. The internet is changing this world and the consumers. Today, you don't have to go and open 500 shops like Gucci to compete with Gucci. If you can bring a first-class designer, a very good product, and a very good marketing and branding, you can compete with the Gucci of this world without 500 shops, And that's the advantage. So you don't have to, because to build 500 shops may take you 10 years, but to have a good design and a good product and a good marketing campaign, you can do it in 2 or 3 years.
I know you're running a very global business. I wanted to shift the conversation to the world stage now. You're a close friend of President Trump. How are you feeling about his re-election prospects in 2020?
I mean, Donald Trump has a lot of controversials, and there are people, I'm sure, in America who love him, and there are people against him. I would like to make it clear, I'm not a politician. I have no intention to be in politics. I'm just like anybody else who watches the TV. I meet him once in a while, I think, in my view, he's done good for America. It does not matter the style and what it is. He reduced taxes, the unemployment is at a record low, the stock market at a record high. So he did something to get those results. Today he has challenges, of course, with his opponent Democrats and other challenges. From my feeling, that still he has a big chance of winning, because there is a large number of Americans who still support him, because he did economically very well for them.
The other interesting thing we talk about on CNBC is this decoupling that we see between the United States and the rest of the world. It's hard to argue against the Trump economy, but when you look outside of the United States, are you concerned about a global economic slowdown moving forward?
I think, in my view, the Americans were very, how would I say, treated China in a different way. And in my view, China economy was built in one of the main reasons because of the Americans, were buying their goods and so forth. I think Americans realize, and that Trump drove that issue of a new relation with China. And he wants to put the relation at par. Why should they have trade deficit of billions? I mean, 2 days ago, again, I said, I'm not in politics, not my view, not my interest. But China asking for a soft loan is like me, Hussain Sajwani, asking the UAE government, I want to build a house, give me a soft loan. Would anybody agree to that? Would anybody say this is pathetic? China with few $1 trillion of overseas reserve, and they such a huge economy asking for a soft loan. So I think Trump triggered that, started that. I don't think this will finish. No matter whoever comes in White House, the relation between China and America going to see different way. It is now very clearly, after the Second World War, there were two powers, Russia and America. Now there are two superpowers, China and USA. And that relation going to go through what I call a new Cold War. And the new Cold War is going to be between China and between USA. And all of us going to get impacted with that. Like all of us were impacted between Brezhnev and Reagan, and when he called them the Devil Empire, you know. So we're going to get impacted with that. How much and how, I don't know, honestly. This is big politics beyond my head.
All right, Mr. Sajwani, we'll have to save it for the next conversation, I hope. Appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hussain Sajwani.